I do not know who said it first. I know who said it best. My rock god, Steven Tyler. The train kept a rolling all night long. The train kept a rolling all night long. This train is leaving the station, and guess what? Tonight is going to be a train wreck. I am back from COVID, not better than ever. I'm trying my damnedest. Somehow, I scheduled this for tomorrow at 4 a.m., but it says you can start the show early. We're a little early, so if you're waiting for 4 a.m., I've got good news. You don't have to stay up quite that late to talk to us. I'm in a different room. I've got a brand new puppy that we got 12 hours ago. I've got a dog over there who is insane. I could have dog World War III in this place. So we're going to find out what the hell Kevin's Return to Explain Yourself is. But we've got a bunch of cool people with us. As always, we got Will Allred. Thank you for flying the ship for almost a month, Will. I enjoyed all the shows. How are you? I haven't talked to you in a long time now.
I know it's been quite a while. I'm glad you're feeling better, man. I'm getting by. It's been weird not having you around every week, but we did have a great co-host with totally Kevin Joseph, who is actually, Mata there. So
So,
it's good to
It was
have you.
fun.
yeah, let's start our elevator roundtable. And since you came in and took a burden off of me, Meta, I'll let you go first. A 30-second pitch on not sacrimony.
Yes. Well, I decided to do an entire new comic because my other Sacrimony project got delayed. So, I was like, I'm just going to write and draw another thing meanwhile, because that's how you do, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is The Misadventures of Buddy and Friend. And basically, it is a comic that reads like a D&D campaign where everyone rolls a 1.
All right. And Todd Kelly, let's talk about your campaign. I have seen you at a convention. I've seen you pitch, but I've never seen you pitch this book because it's brand new. So how would you pitch this book at a comic convention?
So this is an all ages comic. It's called Sheldor the Defender, and the best way I can say is the bestest boy has bitten off more than he can chew. Sheldor is a warrior dog, and he has been tasked with training his new puppy apprentice on how to protect their people. And they're going to go up against, the great threats that warrior dogs do, like, the stuffed animal that got left out in the backyard, or the UPS truck, or, maybe just the dogs on the other side of the fence that they haven't quite met yet. So their misadventures are a lot of fun.
I
All
love
right.
everything about that.
All right.
Kevin, your dog's got to get on that.
Yeah, I just hope they're sleeping. Please God be quiet tonight, guys. So all right, how would we get people's attention at a comic convention on the book that you're kickstarting?
Sure. Awakening is a one shot, Star Trek inspired science fiction. A spaceship sits at the edge of an unexplored anomaly when its navigator starts looking towards the readers and claiming he can see things that nobody else can see. Things go from bad to worse to interesting to you'll have to read the rest to find out.
Oh, I love that's a nice. I like that. I'm gonna have to take a snippet of that and study it the next time I go to a show. I'm stealing that. That's awesome. Scott, we're gonna do the last for first or the first for last. Why don't you give us the 30-second pitch, and then we'll go a deep dive straight into the Crime Busters.
Sure, yeah, my series of Crime Busters. It's basically Scooby-Doo meets Lovecraft. So it's sort of my love letter to things like the Three Investigators and Nancy Drew and all those classic teen detectives where they investigate, ghosts and haunted houses and stuff. But in this case, unlike the original Scooby-Doo cartoons, sometimes there's actually ghosts and supernatural things. It's not just the guy in a mask every single time. So that's basically what Crime Busters is.
Oh, beautiful. Can you present the page, or should I grab
Sure.
it?
Yeah, I can do it.
Oh, beautiful. So as you pick that up, I believe you had said this is one of the first books that you're not doing the art duties on. Is that correct?
That's right. So issue 5 is the one that's currently live here on Kickstarter, and this is the first one that I didn't draw myself. So I've kind of been slowly ramping things up. The first 3 issues I did everything by myself. I did literally everything in the book myself. Issue 4, and those first 2 issues are all in black and white because I'm colorblind and I couldn't color it. So issue 4, I decided that they're the forest. So issue 4 is the different colors. But this time around, I hired and a guy by the name of Matt Johnson, and you can see this coverage here.
I think we lost you there.
Yeah. I'm in a different room when I wasn't sure. I think possibly maybe your microphone cord kind of slipped out.
Yeah, you sounded a little like underwater.
Can you still hear me?
That's
Okay, perfect.
The good news is we edit this. By the time this is a podcast, it'll be super clean, perfect. No one will know any of this. I am lying. We don't do nothing, but that's the beauty of Explain Yourself, because we don't care. So let's start that over from. I know you did issues 1 through 3, everything.
Right. So, he was saying they were black and white, and then hired a colorist. So
that's right. But with issue 5, and let me know if my mic goes out again.
Okay.
I won't be able to tell. But with issue 5, I've brought in a guy to do the art. A guy by the name of Mac Radwanski. He's going to be doing issue 6 as well. At least I think. Hopefully, he's going to be my regular penciler going forward. So, now I'm just doing the writing and the publishing, and I have an art team, so we can get the issues out faster, right. Get it more regularly, because it would take me like 10 months to do a single issue. So now we're trying to get them out 2 or 3 a year.
Well, which writer started out just wanting to write and draw his own comics, right?
I don't know. Alan Moore, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
I've almost got the beard, but not quite. Yeah. I just need to get
there's a path to doing this, being the greatest writer of your generation and becoming a sorcerer. So you're well on your way, and I'm excited to see it happen.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'm going to be a warlock soon, but for now, I'm just focusing on the comic book writing part of it.
I think you need a longer beard to be a sorcerer.
Yeah, and I need to get some of those big finger rings that he always has.
Yes,
with the claws on them.
So where did you find the your illustrator? Did you reach out to find him, or did he come to you?
Yeah, actually, I found him on Facebook. There's a group on Facebook called Connecting Comic Book Writers and Artists, and there's artists that post there, like multiple artists every day are posting their samples, and so I kind of. Anyone that catches my interest where I like their style and they're in my price range, I sort of save. So I've got like anytime I go to my save thing, I've got just a list of all these different artists. And Mac was someone who's I draw in an Archie comic style, and with his style, it's similar enough. It's cartoony, but he has a little more weight to it. Like a little more. When we get down to the art sample, you can see. He's just for me, his art is better than mine, so it was kind of a win across the board where it's going to be faster and better.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
How does it feel like relinquishing artistic control? Because like I also draw, so it's very interesting to think of someone who started off like drawing their own stuff, and now it's just like finding an artist to take over. How does it feel?
It's a mixed bag. I try and give my artists, because I do have a couple artists working on other titles at the moment, and I try and give them much leeway as I can. I want them to be able to express themselves, and they're the artists. They have sometimes a better vision than I do, but then there's other times where I have something very specific in mind, and if they don't get that, I'm kind of like, this isn't quite the way I wanted. When I did Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam, one of my other titles, we did that Marvel style. So I just gave him a plot breakdown, and then he did the pages. And when I got them, then I had to add the dialogue based on the art. And there were times where he drew things where I was like, whoa, I don't know what he was doing here, but now I've got to figure out how to script that so that it makes sense to the reader. It was interesting, but yeah, sometimes it's a mixed bag. Sometimes he comes up with stuff, the artists come up with stuff that I wasn't expecting that's better than what I had in mind, and then other times it's just not quite what I was looking for. But I'm pretty happy with with Mac's work. Yeah, so
well, you said that the Uncle Sam was Marvel style, so that implies to me that this is more full script.
This was full script, yeah.
What do you prefer to write as somebody who comes from drawing their own stuff. Did you Marvel style your own art, or did you full script when you were doing the art?
I didn't write out anything when I was doing mine. Like sometimes I'd write out just like a brief breakdown, or I'll do like I plot in terms of 2-page segments, because I always because you'll be looking at the 2 pages together, so I want to have like cliffhangers to get you to turn the page and stuff like that. So I would write out a thing with like pages 2 and 3, here's what happens, pages 4, 5, here's what happens, but it would just be like a sentence. And there'd be times when I would be drawing and I'd be like, oh, I said this is supposed to be 2 pages, but I need 3, or I only need 1, and then I'd have to figure it out. But yeah, I didn't do any scripting at all when I was drawing myself. I just sort of winged it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Here's the section where I try and convince people that they're gonna like the comic. Bring them like the
super important section.
Yeah. I was just talking about, Nancy Drew, the 3 investigators. For those of you who are of a certain age, may remember that book series. But as a kid, in the early 80s, I absolutely loved those books. And Scooby-Doo. But also I have a thing, which I guess I'll talk to you about in the next section, where I have a sort of overlapping different audiences, because one of my characters is a Golden Age public domain character that I'm reviving. So I have a lot of Golden Age public domain superhero fans, which are like a completely different audience.
That's interesting.
So this is the section here where I'm talking about the variant covers. So every issue I do a variant cover that looks like a Nancy Drew book cover.
I like that.
And it features one of my co-leads. This is Trixie Trouble, who's the sleuth. This was another artist that I found in that same Facebook group named Len M, and she absolutely killed it. Like, this is probably my favorite thing anyone's ever done for any of my projects, is this cover here, because it's exactly the whole mood. This is the whole comic right here. You just need to see this picture and you know exactly what it is.
I was gonna say that cover alone kind of sells it for me. Like, if you just showed me that, I'd be like, okay, cool, I'll back it.
Yeah, when I set up my Kickstarter page, I had the dinosaur coming through the wall and Chuck with the sword here. That was my header image up here. But after about a day, I was like, you know what? I really need to switch that to the Trixie cover, because this is the whole comic right here, is this picture.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're getting when you see that.
Yeah.
You say Nancy Drew, and I have a real choose your own adventure vibe from it too. I feel like she could go left, right, or through the wall, and what should she do?
Yeah, at some point I'm going to do a choose your own adventure variant cover. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So I do one of these every issue. So like, there's people, I have a few like readers who only buy the Trixie's covers. So they have like a set where all of the issues look like a full set of the book covers. And then the other one I do features Chuck, the male lead, and that's the Boy Comics cover, because he's a Golden Age character who's in the public domain. And his series Boy Comics ran for up to issue 119. So it ran for 14 years. And I picked up the continuity right where his series ended in 1956. So with this variant cover series, I continued the logo and the numbering from the original series. And I have every issue I do a new one of this. And again, I have like Golden Age fans that only buy the Boy Comics variant, so they have just those sets.
Cool.
That's cool.
What was so compelling about this character that you wanted to continue his story?
It ties in a lot with my love of things like the 3 investigators and just the whole teen detective vibe. I try and describe him as like he's basically what if Batman was middle class, because his origin story is almost exactly the same as Batman. He's a kid whose parents basically were murdered in front of him, and he decided to fight crime, but he doesn't have any money or training, so he's just like a really athletic, like 14-year-old at the beginning of the series who wants to help people. And since he's a kid himself, he can't have a kid sidekick, so he ends up with a monkey for a sidekick. So that's like his Robin, and then he just runs around fighting crime and solving mysteries.
It'd be great if you had like a 4-year-old helping him.
As someone who has an almost 4-year-old, that would not be very helpful.
No. But if you've ever seen any of like the 1945 Batmans when they had like a 12-year-old, Robin gets knocked out every single serialized episode. Robin didn't help then either. It was actually very realistic. You got these 35-year-old men just punching a kid right in the face, and Robin goes straight down unconscious.
Yeah, how he didn't end up with like permanent brain damage, I have no idea.
Exactly.
What I can attest is if you go with the 4-year-old sidekick, whenever you've got to get out of the house to actually go solve the crime, it's going to take you an hour and a half. Like,
well, the Squeaks the monkey in the original series is actually much more useful. There's a lot of times in there where he figures out the crime, but since he can't talk, he'll just point and he'll be like, squeak, squeak, squeak. And then Chuck will be like, stop bothering me, monkey. And then later on, he turns out, oh, Squeaks knew it all along.
Yeah.
That's great. Did you read these comics or did you?
Yeah, I have a complete run. I've got all 117 issues of the original series.
Whoa.
nice.
And so it's really actually very handy for like I'm getting a little bit of an echo there. It's handy for like the PDFs. So one thing I do is for my first stretch goal, I always add a bunch of digital awards so everyone can have them, and I'll basically add on a bunch of his golden age stories since they're all in the public domain. So I can add an extra 20, 30, 40 pages of complete comic stories featuring this character that I can just add in for free with it, really, without doing any work myself.
That's right. That's so smart.
Smart, very smart.
Yeah, there's like certain characters and stuff that are referenced from the original series. So I'll add in those stories. So like if I say, this happened in issue 107, then in the PDF there'll be the issue 107 story.
That's great. We're getting a little echo again, but what's one of the tiers that you're interested in? Like catch up tiers. What's the tier that you really want people to hear about?
Yeah, I have catch-up tiers is what I really want. I've got 3 different ones. Let me scroll down.
That is also a very cool cover. The one with the skull on there, by the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the Queen in yellow, and I did it like a tarot card cover.
I'm a sucker for tarot cards. I don't believe in them at all, but I love the imagery.
Yeah, me too. And that's a Kickstarter exclusive cover. I do one of those every issue as well. So let me scroll down so you can see the catch-ups. So I basically have the set of the regular covers, but then you could also get the set of all of the Trixie covers, or you can get the set of all the Boy Comics covers.
Oh, they all look so cool side by side.
Yeah. It's really solid.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the ones that I'm really trying to get in, the new readers, the new backers who haven't missed the previous ones. So these are the ones that I'm really trying to push, and I only have a few left because my print run's very small, and particularly the last issue, I'm going to be going to trade after this issue, and so I didn't want to print too many because I knew I'd kind of get stuck with them after that. So.
All right. No, that is awesome. We're going to pop over to one of the other campaigns. So I'm going to ask you to stop. You got it. You're faster than I am. Beautiful. Because I'm afraid if I pull it out, I'll have to say goodnight. Now, I know that you're hanging with us for a little bit, but if it's time to take off, just let us know you're getting out of here, and we'll appreciate it. Let's go. Ari, let's talk Awakening. I'm going to pull this up because I believe we talked about it, and this is going to be my job. So, talk us through, the sparkle in the daddy's eye. Where did Awakenings come from?
So the story for Awakening, sometimes I get a story pretty much fully fleshed. I mean, not the details, but the basic main trajectory of the story, and this was one of them. I just sort of, even before I did some other stuff, it was sitting with me for a while, and it took me a little while before I sort of found the right format to do it in. I was doing a lot of so I started writing comics about shortly after the pandemic started. I had a long story which is excuse me. I wrote like 12 issues basically of like a long thing, and then when I was ready to turn to a comic, I went back and people said, "Well, do something smaller." So I've done some shorts, and this is my first single issue. I've done about 8 or 9 stories that are 10 pages and less, and this is and a webtoon that's like a lot of panels, like one mega thing. But this is my first one shot. I want to understand, how to actually do a Kickstarter campaign, launch a single issue, produce one issue of the comic, like a physical thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the story is, I mean, I love comics and the I love what they can do, and I think this is one of those comics that's trying to draw on a lot of different traditions. So there's the tradition of characters looking right at the reader and kind of talking to them, and kind of that fourth wall breaking thing, which of course has had many different characters do over the years. And this is what I like to call a fourth wall questioning comic, in the sense that for most of it, Lau is looking directly at the readers, and the question is, what is he looking at? Is it a thing or not? And how does that affect anything else going on with the anomaly here, with the relationship between the people in the ship, and you'll sort of see how it all shakes out. I also wanted to use Star Trek because, first of all, I love Star Trek. I love science fiction. I think it's a great way to tell stories and explore interesting moral quandaries, interesting, speculative concepts. I mean, it's just what sci-fi does. Fantasy does it too, but this is just a big one. I think it works better for sci-fi in this one. As you go on, you'll sort of see how it all goes. And I also like the idea of using Star Trek to quickly get people into the story, so they don't really have to. I mean, if you know anything about Star Trek, you can read the first 5 pages, like right up to there normally, and no one has to explain to you like who the people are on the ship and kind of what they're doing when they're talking, like sort of tech, their tech language. You sort of you get it. It helps bring the reader up to speed very quickly. And Star Trek was funny because it's one of those stories that back in the day used to be able to pitch the TV network. I believe until DS9, you could send a Star Trek script.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I heard this is true to the even to like Next Gen, and they would read it and say, "Hey, this is it's kind of like anyone could have a Star Trek story." And I sort of like, this is my Star Trek story. So I kind of wanted to contribute to that tradition. I got Felker, as you can see on the cover. I think I saw you guys have Tart in the beginning. I'm pretty sure she did covers for that too.
Yeah, she did a Scout Comics web store exclusive, and absolutely killed it. And I think she's done a crossover division, right, Will?
Yep, number 4, which is hopefully going to be delivered soon from the printer.
Oh yeah, she's busy. I can attest to that. Right now she's got her own thing that she's showing hard. But so yeah, as for the tiers, we have the digital, we have physical tier. We have this cool postcard, anything of the commander, and commander's like the physical plus. You get backer recognition in the book, I sign your copy, and you get this postcard, which contains some sort of story related or maybe not information on the background. Don't want to give away too much. Okay. The backside, this cool beach state postcard. We got stickers, which I designed a bunch of them, and a combination of from this story, Awakening, and this is my personal College Street Comics. That's my production company. Since I'm doing this myself, I give myself a name. I'm near College Street in Toronto. So.
Oh, sweet.
And a raccoon is like the informal mascot of Toronto. So it's sort of like people in the know. It's like a very local kind of reference.
Well, yeah, and Fellhound is, I don't know exactly where, but she's up in your basic area, right?
Yeah, I don't know if she's downtown GTA or Greater Toronto or whatever, but she's around, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And actually, my artist, Greg Warrenchak, he's from Ottawa, which isn't exactly Toronto, but it's close enough,
Right.
So, you have a mostly Canadian, well, mostly Canadian. I mean, Aubrey is, and my colorist are Canadian, but a surprising Canadian team, which I didn't expect starting this, but
that should be part of your pitch.
Yeah.
That should be, yeah. It's a sad, neglected part of my pitch. I always forget to mention. One tier, if I can pitch one more tier, the one above it, you have the Admiral tier. The Founder tier is you can get whatever all the rewards plus original page art, which I think is great. But I'm actually really excited about the Admiral tier because you get a sketch from Greg. That is me, my arms draped around the legs of Goltalk, the security officer, Commander Goltalk. So this is, I just asked him, give me a quick sketch so I can show people what it is.
That is adorable.
Yeah, if anybody gets it, he will do a sketch of you or anybody else with anyone from the books. He's got a great sense of humor and I don't know, just a great way of drawing people and characters. So I would strongly encourage anyone to get one of those. I forget what I priced it at. It's a little more, but not that's like
So that's the Admiral. Let's see down here.
Yeah. So if you're American, you probably get this for slightly cheaper anyway. So was it $90 Canadian? So that's not
Yeah. So that's what, about 78 American, maybe?
Wait, it said it had the translation. It was 67. Yeah.
67. Okay.
Maybe the American dollar is doing really well. I'll take it. So if anyone wants to sketch, that's the one tier I'm trying to sell at the moment because I think they're great, and I think it would be a great opportunity to have an original piece of art from him. Of course, if you want to get the biggest tier, the founder tier, that contains the original art as well. If you want to do that, and you just, yeah, you know what? I'll leave it at that.
Will this be a page from the interior of the comic?
Yeah, that's a page from the interior comic, exactly. And some of them, he did a page on both sides, and sometimes he did a pencil on one side and ink on the other side. He kind of did a totally like different method for it, almost for like he started it one way and then ended another way. So doing this, I was like, well, we got a bunch of pages. If we have like, if 10 people want them, then we'll have to like maybe start to think about which ones are the best. But I have a feeling that if 5 people or less, then everyone's going to get a particularly nice looking page.
I always feel like it's first come, first served, and so the first person that backed it gets to choose their favorite, and number 10 gets the 10th page.
So there you go. Back early and back often.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. So congratulations on finishing your first one shot. That is, you did it. Like you did the thing, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I really want to learn how the process works at every step of the way, and to learn for future comics or ongoing series. Before I start like publishing my ongoing series, I've got art coming back from it. I'm really excited about it. Before I do any of that, learn what are the things I want to do, what are the things I think I can do pretty well. Like I'm good with like Illustrator and design. I'm not good with drawing. So anything that's like I need to muck stuff up. Like I did the logo for this comic, but I used existing resources like the anomaly to help with that. So it's like figure out what I'm good at, what I like, and then dedicate myself to doing more of that in the future. And the stuff that I find is complicated and awkward and weird and maybe I'm not so good at, either get better at that or delegate to somebody else.
No, just get more awkward and weirder until like that's your thing.
It will get awkward and weird, but about different stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I do know from past experience that we are keeping Matt up past bedtime, so we're gonna go to you now before we turn into a pumpkin here.
No, I'm good. I'm cool to hang out.
Yeah, we're gonna make Todd hang. So are you gonna pull up your page and
I can pull up a page. Let's see.
Let's do it.
All right. Don't share the incriminating screen. Does it let me pick?
Yes, it does.
Okay, yeah. All right. Got to be careful with that. Did it? Yeah. Oh, cool. It did the thing, I think.
I think I see it down below, and I can pop it up. Here we go.
Yay. All right. It is my campaign. It is The Misadventures of Buddy and Friend. It is a cute, funny, lighthearted story chock full of dark humor that reads like a D&D campaign where everyone rolls a 1.
Nice.
Yeah, so, oh man, what do I even say about it right now? I love like co-hosting the show, and then when I'm like a guest, I'm like, the hell am I doing? Someone ask me a question.
So, okay, I've got one for you.
All right.
I'll throw you a softball. Sacrimony has a very specific feel and tone and look to it. This is not Sacrimony.
No, it's not. How wild is that?
So what was kind of your, I know you said that, scheduling, but to work on this, did you want to just go in a completely different direction? What was kind of your inspiration for this?
Well, my inspiration is like I don't want to be that person that does the same thing over and over again. So like if I'm doing a comic, it's going to feel completely different from like any other comic I've done. Like I'm kind of like a chameleon. Like before I started seriously working on Sacrimony, I had like a lot of different art styles going on. I was able to mimic other artists' styles, so it's just like it's fun to be able to do that and not have to do the same thing over and over again. And yeah, I wanted a story that was like stupidly funny and just like because sometimes you're tired of stories that are like dark and gritty with lots of emotional baggage, and it's like I just want to do something incredibly stupid right now. So this is me just getting all of that stupidity out there.
Nice.
And the art, I had made the mistake. The art felt a little like all ages, and you're like no.
No.
So
Let's get into that actually.
let's get into the fact that this is for a slightly older audience. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's blood, there's cursing, there's like there's lots of fights.
It's not as rough as whatever else you have on your computer, apparently.
You can edit that out, right?
Oh, absolutely. I go through this with a fine-tooth comb. You got it.
Uh-huh. So yeah, it's just like cutesy looking characters beating the shit out of each other, basically. I mean, there is a lot of nuance behind the scenes to the characters. Like as you get to know them, you get to learn like what their deal really is. Because I still like to incorporate like, all right, well they've got like this going on and that like weird quirks, and they do have emotional baggage, but it's like funny emotional baggage. So I guess it gets a pass.
So Sacrimony, you've been cooking up in your head for basically your entire life. How long has this pie been baking?
I created it on a whim actually in like around 2012. I was going through like a really rough patch for like literal years, so this helped me like pull out of like a really terrible depression spiral basically. Like it gave me a reason to like, get out of bed even if it was at like 3 p.m. or whatever, just to do the thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though it's like stupidly funny, it helped me out of like a super duper dark place. And yeah, I have so much love for this comic because of that.
It's funny. Todd and I were at a show about 4 weeks ago, and we met a woman who had a tattoo from oh gosh, help me out, Todd. What was the show? Supernatural.
Yeah, Supernatural.
And it was, I think the tattoo, I don't know the show, but the tattoo was basically about pain. And she talked about how the show had allowed her to get through some very personal things in dealing with pain. And it's a creator or somebody who's taking in entertainment. We can all use art to get through these hurdles. And it's kind of amazing to hear it that people do it on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, I mean, like, art and entertainment is so underrated. Like, it really does have the power to heal. It has the power to help people just, like, process what the hell is going on in their life. Like, when they see another character going through something and they're like, hey, that's what I'm going through. And, it brings a deeper understanding of just what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't just help us as, readers or viewers or whatever, but it helps the people that create it too. I mean, art makes the world a better place in so
Absolutely.
many ways.
Especially art with dick and fart jokes.
Yes, exactly. always. And gratuitous violence.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Oh, got it.
Absolutely necessary.
Yes.
How many maces are in this book?
Well, there is a character with a flail and shield, which is one of my favorite combinations. It's the main character, Buddy. Like, I came up with his name on such a whim. I was just like, he looks like a buddy. Like, so he's just going to be Buddy.
Is that his shield with just like a neutral face on it?
Yes, it is. And it actually, the expression does change when it gets hit. It's a little hard to see here, but it's kind of like wincing when it gets hit with the club. Absolutely no explanation behind it whatsoever, and it will never be explained, but it's a thing.
Nice.
This is like, I don't need an explanation for that.
Yeah. Do you just find that when you're drawing it, or is it something you're thinking about before you start?
I've said this before, like my head is completely empty, so I don't know what's gonna happen until I actually draw it. So then I start to like figure out like, all right, well this needs something weird. Like a lot of the visual gags just happen like as I'm drawing it.
Yeah. So you and Scott come at the things you write and draw the same way, just like
Yes,
"Evan,
we
I
are
have a
kindred
pencil and
spirits.
paper, I can go.
Oh, I do have
Yep.
to say, like, I even though I haven't written anything out, like, I have things detailed planned in my head. So, like, I've got Crime Busters issues planned out to issue 30, and I know like what happens with everything up to there. But
Amazing.
I love like what you're doing here with this, the freedom just to not plan everything out in advance.
It's very liberating.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the greatest authors of all time do one or the other too. You know, Stephen
Yeah.
King and Mark Twain sit down and find out what story they're going to write as they write 200 in Mark Twain's or 9,000 pages in Stephen King's thing.
Yeah.
But then other people have to have an 88-page outline in order to write their 110-page novella. And
Yeah.
it's super interesting that some people just have to work one way or the other, and yet the book at the end, you know, if a writer's good enough and you like the way they write, it doesn't matter how you get to it. It's just what ends up on the page. It doesn't matter how it's done.
Yeah, it's so wild that the end result is kind of like the same. It's like, all right, well, you're getting a book with words in it, but you never really know like the process of what's going on behind the scenes, and it's always super fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen King sat down to write probably thought a 6 or 8 page short story, and he couldn't go to sleep. He was 42 pages into Misery, and he decided maybe this guy's going to survive. You know, it's like Misery started as a short story where the author was going to die and his skin was going to be used to make the book. That's what Misery was going to be. But
Amazing.
I think the character's
not know
Paul
that.
Sheldon, right? He just kept getting out of the jams that Stephen King created for him, and he was like, well, I mean, he's alive so far. I guess I'll put this down and I'll write tomorrow. It's if you we've talked about it before, but Stephen King's On Writing is the best writing book I've ever read. The first half is kind of a memoir, and the second half really is just a really great how-to writing book, and I recommend it. And that story's in it where he was kind of talking about how some people outline to death, and he just can't do that. He just has to find the story. You know, he does multiple drafts. He fixes the stuff that stunk in the first draft, but he doesn't do any outlining.
Yeah, I think I love that there's no right or wrong way to be creative. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, I have to do this. I have to write this 80-page outline before I do this. Like, no, just do the thing in whatever way you're most comfortable with, and you'll get the best result.
And yet for them, they have to.
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel like sometimes that can be used as a crutch. You know, oh, I've got to do this because I don't feel like I'm ready to do this yet. But, you know, again, it doesn't matter. Everybody does it differently. And like you said, the end result is what matters. So just do whatever
Also,
it takes.
spoiler alert, you're never ready, ever.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. You're absolutely spot on. I mean, sometimes you just got to get out there and do it.
Well,
Well,
Ari and Todd, do you guys kind of outline before you get into an issue of a book, or do you wing it as you sit down and write the first draft?
I wing the first draft, and then I turn the first draft into an outline.
Okay, and then rewrite it from there.
Yeah, and then I just kind of break it down to like what actually should happen. Like, is there some random stuff that like just doesn't need to take place? Like, you know, stuff like that. So it's kind of take out what doesn't need to be there, and then, you know, tighten it up, and then send it to Andrea and let him actually, like, you know, tell me what's right.
What about you, Ari? What's your process?
My process tends to be a little different for everything I write. Some things I know very clearly what I want, like at every step of the way, and some processes I'm like, or some stories I'm like, I start here, I end there. How I get here, I'll sort of figure out along the way. What I usually end up doing is I usually start writing the part of the story first that interests me the most. That seems to be like the most interesting dialogue, or the thing that, what I'll often do is I'll be like, I should start at the beginning. So I'll start right at the beginning, and then I'll have an idea and I'll write it down somewhere, and I'll go back to the beginning, and I'll have another idea and write it down. Eventually, one of these ideas will be like, well, why am I writing the first scene if the ideas I'm having are for like 3/4 of the way through, or for the climax, or whatever. So like, well, let's work with that, and then you start writing some of that, and it doesn't even have to be great or good. It just has to be down. And you can always make it good or better, or in any form afterwards. So I kind of jump around a bit, but I do tend to have a pretty good idea about where I'm going before I start the story, even if I don't know all the details. And often, halfway through, the characters themselves will reveal to me, just in the way that I played with their interactions, and in a very sort of like animistic way. It's like it's not me doing it; it's the thing doing it. The character's telling you, I wouldn't say that. I would say this. Like, okay, well, we have to go there then instead of here. So, yeah, I mean, as long as you're open, then, and as long as you're okay with like knowing that you're going to keep revising and revising until it's exactly what you want it to be, and then the artist is going to do some revisions, and then there's going to be a whole conversation, that and everything. Like, just jump in.
That's super interesting. So, go ahead.
So Matt, Sacrimony's a longer form story. Do you have the same kind of plans for multiple issues of this?
It goes on for a bit, but I'm definitely not going to be working on this when I'm like 80 years old. I think I'm probably going to be done within like 20 to 24 issues. So it's still going to be a while. It's going to be a fun ride. I started this as a webcomic back in like 2013, which like helped keep me going because it helped hold me accountable because I was posting pages every week. But like behind the scenes, I actually have until like issue 13 pretty much done. So it's just a matter of like going back and through. Yeah, I have like 300 pages of this. It's ridiculous. So I'm going through and I'm like refining things, making some of the writing better because I learned a lot since 2013. It's been literally like 10 years. Like I basically use this as a way to like teach myself to draw comics better because I'm self-taught. So I had no idea what the hell I was doing at the beginning, which is always fun. But yeah, so basically 20 to 24 issues, I'd say.
It always saves us time having you on because we know who the art team is. You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well, I did have 2 flatters to help me with this. Otherwise, I'd have gone like completely insane. So I had Nikki as usual. Like she helped me a lot with the Sacrimony stuff, and I also had Lewis, who's like he's a. So yeah, he goes by the name Lewis Morningstar, and I think he might actually be the devil because I'll give him like 10 pages and he'll have them done in like 4 hours, and I'm like, I'm okay with losing my soul over this.
I'm asking what you had to sacrifice to get these 4 pages, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Getting pages back is beautiful, and wasn't he the most beautiful angel? So I'm with you.
Yeah. I remember you guys were talking to me about like getting like art emails and how exciting it is, and I'm like, I never get art emails unless I email myself, and I'm getting art emails, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool now. I understand what you guys mean.
It's amazing.
Nice.
So what are some of the tiers that you would really want people to hear about?
All right.
As we go through.
We go through the rewards. I have a tier with like everything I've done so far. So it's the 2 issues of Buddy and Friend, and then 5 issues of Sacrimony. I have a digital and a physical version. I highly recommend that because I would also love for people to read Sacrimony and see how completely different these 2 stories are. And also because Sacrimony is a great story. Read Sacrimony first, and it'll make you depressed, and then you can read Buddy and Friend and laugh and cheer yourself up, and it'll be like your own personal little Prozac.
Shot in the chaser.
Nice.
That's your 30-second pitch right there, though. It's just a small little Prozac. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I also did these like really cool variant covers because I love doing multiple covers. I love doing covers in general, so I was just like, I love these covers because they happened really serendipitously. Like I was gonna actually like do very like crisp inking over it and regular color, but I was like, no, you know what? The sketches look way cooler. So I just left it like that, and it was a beautiful accident.
Cool.
Those are always the best.
Thanks.
Right. So let's pop that out if you could, because I'm always afraid that if I hit it out myself.
All right. There we go. I stopped sharing.
All right.
But I'm still caring.
Yes, always. All right, Todd. Let's talk about Sheldon. And oftentimes when we've got a book about a dog, I'm going to ask: Is Sheldon a real pet, or is this crazy make 'em ups?
I'm going to be real. I wish I made him up. It's called Sheldor the Defender. Sheldon is the dog. We always called him Sheldor. Was his nickname.
Oh, my eyes aren't working. No wonder. Okay.
No, I started writing this. What was it? It was October 2021. So the Sheldon passed away in his sleep, and I'd always wanted to do an all ages book. My daughter, again, she'll be 4 at the end of March, and it was just something I kind of wanted to do, and this was my way of kind of getting to grieve and celebrate the dog as he was 11. I adopted him when he was 4 months old, so it was just one of those things where I got to work on it, and it was a lot of fun. And let's see, I'm trying to share my screen now. So, but yeah, just the whole project became a lot of fun,
and probably a tribute, really.
Yeah.
How do I pick? Sorry, I haven't done this before. So.
It's present, and then comes
Chrome
up.
tab.
Yeah, and then you pick whatever. You pick the non-porn,
Chrome tab. Yeah.
which I'm sure nobody on this panel would have had up.
There we go.
Absolutely not.
Cool. Is it showing?
It is. Yes. Here we go. Bam. There you are.
All right. So this is Sheldor the Defender. And when we talked earlier, obviously we talked about just kind of jumping in and, doing something.
Oh, look at that. The number went up. Sorry.
That's always nice.
That's
So this is me doing this Kickstarter. I had been putting off doing a Kickstarter for the longest time. A lot of people had given me some great advice on how to do it, and I kind of kept making excuses and making stalls because I was that guy that wanted to do it, kind of perfectly, and there's no way to do that. And so I finally decided I was going to pull the trigger and do this. And Kevin, you shared some great advice with me at that show we worked, together about 4 weeks ago. So I kept, again, kind of continuing to make excuses, but I finally just decided to rip the Band-Aid off, and, I put it together. We've got a really cool video. I don't know how well it would play here, but the video we got put together looks like a trailer for a TV show, and that's been really cool. And we got out here, and the artwork's done by a guy named Sergio De Arcos, and he's out of Spain. Actually, Andrea put me in touch with him, and he was just absolutely amazing. Did the art, did the character designs, really just kind of helped me take the book to the next level. In terms of kind of getting into it, and like I said, I just kind of went with this and rolled with it. So my logo here is so funny. It took me forever to even find this because that's how unorganized I was, and I got it up here, and it was up here for like 4 or 5 days before Sergio reached out to me and said, "Hey Todd, the letterer, you don't actually have Justin's name in there. You're using the old logo." And I was just like, "Oh, okay. Well." And he was like, "I think you can change it." I'm like, "No, I'm good, man. We're gonna roll with it. Don't worry about it." So kept it very simple, kind of explain the story real quick. And again, like we talked about earlier, it's an all ages book where Sheldor himself is he's trained or tasked with training his new apprentice puppy, which her name's Pond. Which is also my puppy. So all 3 of my dogs are featured. They're actually the 3 up front here. So Sheldor is the one in blue. Pawn Puppy is the kind of princess one there, and then the one that kind of looks like he's straight out of World War Hulk. His name is Dozer, and that's my other dog as well. So I featured all 3 of mine, and then the ones in the back on the cover, they're all friends of mine, their dogs. So when it came to kind of building my characters, I was like, we can reinvent the wheel here, or we can hit up some of my buddies and talk to them about their pups and let them feature their pups in the book as well. And that was a lot of fun because I got to know my friends a little bit better, and I also got to interact with them about their pups.
It's always a good time to talk to people about their dogs.
I'm telling you, we could do a whole separate podcast on that where we just get in here and talk about dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You're darn right. So how did you get your whole team together?
So Sergio did the, pretty much all the interior. Justin did the lettering, and I'm going to be very real with you in terms of pulling the team together. I constantly bugged Andrea.
Yeah.
I basically was just like, okay, cool. I want to build this like to a point where it's publisher ready. I want to take it that seriously. So I just, I hit him up. I got him to give me pretty much any portfolio that he wasn't using so I could talk to artists. And I got him to, put me in touch with some letterers. And I just reached out and, just got it to work out. So both Sergio and Justin were really fun to work with. And, they were great. I'm probably going to continue working with them on other projects.
Yeah. And that's kind of shout out to any artist out there. We're talking about Andrea Lorenzo Molinari, who's Tart's editor for Scout, and I don't know his exact managing editor or whatever at Scout, but basically he holds on to portfolios for 30 some writers out there who need people. So if you have a portfolio and you're looking for work, try to find Andrea Lorenzo Molinari. He writes The Shepherd, and you put that into enough Google forms and you're probably going to find out how to reach him. And he's a great resource. And if you're a writer looking for artists, he's a super great guy who will just go, oh yeah, here are the 8 people I know that are good that are looking for work.
Always, I would say again, I'm absolutely amazing person, very helpful. I met him in a show, a few years back, and we just kind of talked a little bit, and we kept running into each other at shows, and became friends, and then started chatting things out. And again, he really just kind of helped take this book to the next level from just an editing and just again from all of his experience. I mean, I would hit him up at some of the most random times. And I mean, he always got back to me, always would, shoot me some feedback and just be open and real. But at the same time, would always encourage me to do it the way you want to do it. But this is my advice.
Yeah. He and I always have a tug of war. He likes sound effects a lot more than me.
Yeah.
So I'll send a page that has 0 sound effects, and I'll get, like 9 sound effects that he thinks should be on the page. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw him like 3 bones here.
There you go.
That's it. So I pick like the 3 best.
Yeah.
So how long would this series go if you got to write the entire story that you have in your
so right now I've got it mapped out for 4 books. So each book has 2 chapters. And so we're going to kind of take Sheldor on a bit of an emotional journey. And book 2 is actually already in the works. So book 2 is a Halloween and a Christmas special. And in book 2, in the Halloween issue, he's going to meet his main antagonist, and he's going to have his first pretty big failure. And then his Christmas issue or chapter is going to be kind of his attempt at redemption. And, from there, he's going to kind of go on a little bit of a journey. But right now it's probably going to be 4 issues. That'll be the whole trade. And, he'll kind of get to go on his journey, and then we'll just kind of go from there. It's something I could continue to write. I've got tons of stories that I could do, but it's also a little bit emotionally taxing. So it's one of those things where I've written out, those 4 books and those 8 chapters. I've got a couple different artists that are working on additional chapters moving forward. So I probably, by the end of this year, we'll have the other 3 books complete.
That's awesome. Guys, we got Jeff Weber in the chat. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Really happy to have you. We're going to start the show over. Everybody remember what you said?
All of it. Every single word.
Sweet. We got to take care of our buddy Jeff. Great to see you. No, that's great. So 8 chapters, which would be 4 books. I think that's a brilliant way to do it. Are they about 12 pages a story, or are they full, each chapter 24?
Each chapter is about 12 pages.
That's perfect for younger kids' attention span. Get them in and out, and start another adventure. That's really smart.
Well, it's also easier to write.
Win-win.
Yeah, it works out really well. I mean, again, it was easier to write. It's easier to keep them compact. And, I try to write it. And again, I mentioned earlier, I have an almost 4-year-old. And that's the one who has to read the same book to her over and over and over and over. I wanted to write this in a way that the parent that was having to read this over and over enjoyed it as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of super critical for an all ages book, especially if it's going to be something you'll read with a kid.
Yeah.
You want to read it too. Yeah.
Shawnee in the chat says, "Dang it, Kevin, you didn't warn me. I'd need to take notes." This is just a general warning for the future. We expect everyone to be transcribing in real time. This is not some fly-by-night operation. We're here to work.
There will be a test.
Ah, shit.
So I see Titans on here. Let everybody know what your other book is, which I can see is people are able to get through this Kickstarter.
Yeah, so I had to sneak Project Titans in here just as a little bit of an intro. So this was actually the first book I worked on, and really, I guess, kind of turned me into a comic book creator. It's a little bit of kind of Dragon Ball meets Airbender. We follow our main guy here, who's standing and about to get pummeled. He was called a Nameless, and on his 16th birthday, he's going to ascend and become a demigod-like creature called a Titan. And his name is going to be revealed to him during that ascension. So this is his moment. This is his day. Unfortunately for him, it'd be a really boring story if that worked out well. So our story starts the day before that's going to happen, and his island is attacked by a legendary creature called the Shade, which is this big, creepy-looking dude here. So it's up to him and his two young Titan guides, Halo and Hope, to try and fend this creature off, save everyone on the island, and survive until sunrise when he's going to get his name and get his abilities. So this is the first issue. I have the first 7 completed. The first 5 issues are called The Night of the Nameless, and they kind of cover what I just talked about. I don't really get into anything else after that because it's got spoilers. But so I went ahead and threw Project Titans in here and just called it The Ones. I got kind of goofy with my names on my tiers. Actually, Matt Knowles reached out to me after I launched this and let me know that I forgot to include a digital tier. So I did end up adding a digital tier for $6 so somebody could just get Sheldor. But when I wanted to put my tiers together, I just, I try to keep them simple with this being the first, Kickstarter that I was doing and not having, I've never fulfilled anything like this before. So I wanted to keep it nice and simple. Wanted to keep the things I knew I had. I knew I could, fulfill pretty easy. So it just made sense to put Project Titans in there for anybody who was interested.
That's very smart, and that's great advice for anyone doing the first campaign. The fewer options there are for people to back, the fewer organizational nightmares you're going to have delivering. So, keep it simple for your first one so that you're more likely to deliver on time and people come back to back your second one. So that's a really smart way to do it.
Thank you.
And one of the tiers, are there still any tiers left over where people could have their dogs drawn in? I remember
so that actually, the last one was yesterday.
Oh, you sold it out. Beautiful.
Yeah, so that was down here. It's become part of the pack. And so we had 12 spots open in issue 2 where you could get your dog worked in. And so the hope when I launched this Kickstarter, and again, followed actually Kevin's advice and extended it, basically made it so it was 4 weeks. And so my goal when I was coming in marketing it was that I was going to basically focus on a different tier kind of marketing each week. So a lot of this last week, I've been focusing on this become part of the pack tier. And I knew a couple people that were going to jump on it. And obviously I know I've got a bunch of friends that are dog lovers. And, I just was kind of hopeful that people would get as much joy out of it as I did. And, it popped off. So it went really well. Pretty much I was like 2 a day. We're kind of getting taken up. And that's really interesting too, because I was surprised by some of the spots that got taken because they just weren't individuals that I would have pegged or thought about. But again, it got out there and people enjoyed it. So all 12 spots got taken, and that was really, really cool. And then I had a few people reach out like, hey, when you do the next one, are there going to be other spots? Like I want to get on it. So I think it's going to be something we kind of keep where I allow people to, kind of get their pup added in there because it makes it fun.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely cool.
Nice.
So you're going to have to find more spots for the next Kickstarter for issue 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Or issue 2 issue 3.
Yeah.
Kickstart 2 and draw them in for issue 3. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's something that I just did as an add-on in mine where you could get added on as the murder victim in the next issue of Crime Busters. And someone snapped up immediately. So I'm like, well, issue 7, I need to have like 30 people get killed. So
Dude, people love getting killed in comics. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It got a lot gorier when you saw when the red turned to green. It got a lot gorier, huh?
Yeah.
but yeah, as Matt has said, it's a lot of people are really into it. My buddy Dave Bishop, who isn't writing it as much anymore, but he did a lot of horror, and he would have most of his commission work was You Dead, basically, and he'd sold them out every campaign.
Nice.
I don't know if that's a tier that I would select, but that's just me.
Yeah.
You know what? You don't need everybody to select it. You need the people who are there for it, and
100%.
Exactly.
There's lots of them.
yeah. So is there anything left on the campaign you want to make sure you get out before we pop off the page?
So we got one other. So I partnered with Grey Ghost Comics in Tifton, Georgia. Scott and Andrew, absolutely great guys. So Scott's an artist himself, and he's actually doing a cover for me, so a variant cover. So like I talked about, I wanted to kind of focus on a different tier each week. So we're actually going to do the cover reveal this week, and really try to focus on, talking about this tier for probably, again, the next week and a half or so. And then once we actually fulfill, we're going to go to Grey Ghost Comics and do a signing there. And, this variant's going to be only available at Grey Ghost Comics.
Or through the Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, or the Kickstarter, right?
Oh, gotcha. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, beautiful. If you could pop that out, and we'll do, we'll check this comment that just came in. If I hit it right, Shawnee says it can be cathartic to be slain as a comic character. So
They're just funny. Like, it's like, haha, like someone cut my throat. Look at that. There's just something funny about it.
Funny, though?
It is, absolutely.
So here's where I would be more concerned. I'm okay if I choose to make myself as a slain comic book character. Where I'm going to be more concerned, though, is like if my wife picks that option, and like,
Yeah.
On edge.
Well, Matta, you're going to have lots of violence in issue 2.
I used to think about doing the you get killed in this comic thing, but then I'm like, it also slows down me making comics, because then you have to wait, and then it's like someone's like, oh, I don't know if I want to get killed this way or that way. It's always a cool idea, but I'm like, then I have to wait on this one person who is a bit indecisive.
We've had 2 people drawn into our comics. One is in Tart 14 as the sheriff of the western town, and one will be in Tart 16 as, no spoilers, but it's definitely you're waiting. But the cool thing is both people that backed, I actually already had photos of them because they'd done commissions of themselves. So if they didn't send it, we knew what they looked like. So we happened to luckily be set. But yes, it's a danger if they don't send it to you. But also if they don't send it to you, that's on them,
Yeah.
True.
So let's do an elevator pitch of all the projects again, and then Will and I will talk about all the books that I don't know a lot about because I ain't been here. So Scott, if you could talk to one more time on the Crime Busters, if you were at a comic convention, how would you get people attention at your table?
Yeah, so Crime Busters is.
If you could check your microphone, I think it pulled out again. It's there, but it's light.
It's a little low, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I guess pull it up.
How about now?
No, but if you just talk loud, we'll just get through it.
Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem
is. That's good.
But, yeah, the Crime Busters, it's basically Scooby-Doo meets Lovecraft. It's a group of teen detectives in the 1950s who investigate supernatural mysteries that are taking place around the college that they go to. But sometimes it turns out that the ghosts are actually ghosts. They're not always, a real estate agent or something like that. And so the 5th issue's out right now, and it's basically my riff on A Night at Museum. The group goes to a museum to investigate a mystery. They get trapped inside, and a magic spell brings all the displays to life, and they have to sort of battle their way out. So that's the current campaign for Crime Busters number 5.
Beautiful. I'm very excited to do it. Ari, let's get Awakening one more time for people. How would you get their attention at a comic convention?
if you like Star Trek, if you like classic science fiction, if you like issues of trying to figure out which way the story is going, this is for you. Awakening is a ship at the edge of an unexplored galaxy, trying to puzzle over the celestial anomaly when one of the crew members is affected and starts seeing things that nobody else sees. Let me see if I remember exactly what I said before. Things go from bad to worse, and things get interesting, and you'll have to see how it ends.
Yep.
Get it back in, you'll see how it ends. I don't know. I said better the first time. Don't make me repeat myself.
No, that was
You should have been taking notes.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
mistake, and I apologize.
I know. I take notes all the time.
Totally, Kevin Joseph. Let's talk about the misadventures of Buddy and Friend.
It is a ridiculously funny fantasy comic that reads like a D&D campaign where everyone rolls a 1, and it makes fun of a lot of fantasy tropes.
Beautiful.
Nice.
All right, and Todd, we just talked about it, but like Jeff came in, there could be someone popping in. So if they just popped in, how would you get their attention about Sheldor? I'll say it right this time.
All right, so we have Sheldor the Defender, an all-ages book that follows the bestest boy who has bitten off more than he can chew. Sheldor is in charge of training his new apprentice, Princess Pawn Puppy, and he is going to have to help her, become a great warrior dog so that they can protect their persons and make sure that they fight off the great threats like the teddy bear that they left in the backyard, or the UPS truck, or potentially the dogs on the other side of the fence. So that is Sheldor the Defender.
Awesome. Todd, Matta, R.A. Scott, we really appreciate you hanging with us tonight. We're going to answer one thing with Jeff put in the comments, and then Will and I are going to talk about the campaigns that are still alive. If you want to hang with us, we'd love to have you. But if it's time to shut it off, we totally understand. And we'll say good night to anybody who's popping off, and then we'll say good night to the others later when we get done. But Jeff in the comments said, I really like doing the appear in the comic rewards. I'll definitely do it again in the future. It would work even better if I planned for it when the art is being created. Yes, that is that is super important, to leave a spot in the panel saying whoever backs this is probably going to be this character.
Your face here.
Really big crowd scene, and then you can get like 30 people in. Tiny.
So I'll say with the dogs, I wrote the script ahead of time and created like the spots, and I even already wrote the dialogue. So essentially, whenever I get the pictures of the dogs, the artist is going to create the characters, and then I'm going to send the dialogue to the pet parents and basically be like, how would your dog say this? Because everybody's got their own voice for their dog. So like, how is your dog going to say this? Like, you give it back to me, and then I'll put it in there. And then that way, when you read this and you see your pup, like, they're saying it the way you want them to say it, so that it resonates with you.
Yeah, people that don't have dogs and cats in your house are looking at you like you're crazy. Everybody who has a dog and cat knows exactly what you just said and why. You're like, yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah.
No, Harpo wouldn't say that. Are you kidding? No.
All right, well, I'm going to hop off because I think my kid's going to wake up at like 4 a.m. So.
Yeah. Well, you have fun then, Todd.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It was nice meeting everybody.
Nice meeting you. Good night.
All right. So, Will, I might be able to talk about some of these, but one question I have is Brent's puzzle campaign closed, or is that still live?
Yes. That finished.
Closed.
All
right.
Didn't you start a new one like yesterday or something? The Land of the Dragon?
Number 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So then, Pocus Hocus is still live.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I've got them sorted in order. If you want to start the one the ending soonest first.
Yeah, you definitely couldn't have just talked about it. No.
Yeah.
I'm gone for 3 weeks, and he organizes. We don't do this organized, Will. Come on, man.
Right. Mixology, which is on the screen right now. Book 1, Sazerac and Vesper, is ending, I believe, on February 17th. So it is an anthology. It's actually a flip book that gets into a little bit of, it brings in drinking and drinks, and it's a kind of a dark fantasy with two separate stories.
And
the
he
fact that
said,
it's a
yeah, each story is based on a drink. Basically,
Yeah.
he gets his inspiration from the drink to create the plots of the story, which I think is an interesting way to get into it. So
Oh, also, oh, sorry to cut you off, but his book idea was like super fancy. He was gonna have like these velvet covers with like gold foil on them, and it's like, damn, I'm kind of jealous.
yeah,
Because his whole dealie was to get them like selling in bars, and they look like super classy. So that's a cool idea.
That's awesome.
and it's a flip book, which I think is really, really cool too. You read it, the first story, and then you flip it over and you read the second story.
But he should have like a coaster like on the book so people can put their drink on it without
without damaging it.
yeah.
Just one spot that's like protected or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. With velvet covers though, that's so risky.
So yeah, very risky.
Well, then they have to buy it again.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right, and now because Kevin has ruined it, that guy, we had that guy from Pocus Hocus. I mean, he's here, he's awesome.
You notice Alan comes back all the time, but Will was only on once. I think we might have worn out our welcome with Will, but obviously Alan doesn't hate us.
No. And
you know what? He was like, there can be only one Will on the show, so
yeah,
that makes
and
sense.
I won. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Last Will standing.
Yeah, but Alan was on the show, and he's always great to have on because he's got such a great sense of humor. But Pocus Hocus is a comedy where a sorcerer has sold his soul and maybe realizes that probably wasn't the best thing to do, and is trying now to get that soul back, and hijinks ensue. How about that?
Beautiful. Our good friend Clay Adams, and actually, since I'm in a different spot, Clay writes it, Kyle Roberts draws it. Kyle actually just on his own did a tart commission just because he wanted to, and that's one of the ones that I have. And what I'm saying is, anyone if you want to draw a tart and send it to me, I will put it up in my room.
cool. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, so I always accept that and want that. But Kyle and Clay put this together with two public domain characters. One you definitely heard of, that whole Frankenstein monster guy, and one that I'd never heard of, the Blazing World, right? And that it's like the 1600s, this portal fantasy of a woman who goes through, and there's talking animals and all craziness, and Clay and Kyle decided just to put them together and see what happened. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's Kyle, so it's beautiful art and a fun story, and definitely worth checking out.
Alan Moore's The Extraordinary Gentleman features the Blazing World in the Black Dossier, or one of the maybe 2 or 3 of the books.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's where Clay first heard about it and kind of went down the rabbit hole of it and decided, that's neat, let's play with it. And because it happens in the north, like near the North Pole, or at least in the Arctic, he decided, well, that's where Frankenstein the novel ends.
Right, just off
Let's see what happens.
It's a good thing he didn't hit the portal into Pellucidar instead. It's pretty busy up there, right?
All right, and John Eddingfield II, Rancidville is a 3-part series. This is going to sound familiar very soon, and this is the 3rd part, so this is the final. You can actually catch up and get the entire series of 3 young friends. One person moves into a town and meets 2 friends, and the 3 of them basically fight an evil city council
and solve a murder.
Yeah, to solve a murder, and the council's up to some shenanigans, and the kids try to fight him. And John writes and draws it himself, and he's got a really cool, interesting style that is perfect for this type of a story, and well worth your time in checking out. Ryan Kroboth, another good friend, and this is part 3 of a 3-issue series, and so you can get them all. If you haven't done it yet, you can get the complete series. And Sunmaker is a world that has frozen, and a guy who can bring heat and fire and light in magically decides to fight all these blue little wizardy cold guys. But he realizes that if he's going to live out his destiny, that might not be the best thing. And he's got to figure out if doing the thing he was born to do is the right thing after all. And I'm excited to finally get that, because Ryan's been drawing it, and they've been working on it a while. So both of those campaigns are you can get the full series and catch up. And I think we got it right, Will.
I think so. We have some friends that have launched. Kat and Phil have launched Hairology, which is a celebration of hair, which has an intro by Gail Simone, which is really amazing. Brant, Last Ember Press just launched In the Land of the Dragon, numbers 1 and 2. So that's definitely check that one out. And I'm sure we'll have them on the show eventually, but hey, they just launched, so get on them now, and then you'll be ready. That guy, Charlie Stickney, launched Galarian, Short and Deadly, a hardcover, which is absolutely beautiful looking, and we have a puppy.
Amazing.
And I think, let's see. And he hasn't been on the show in a while, but Pat Shand is running Cerulean Dreams #1.
It's sort of like an annual of his different books, which is a really interesting idea and really cool.
Absolutely.
And he's killing it because he's Pat Shand.
Exactly.
It's what he do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what you're absolutely right. And then I've got one other thing that I'm backing, just because I think everybody else on Kickstarter's backing it too. This really unknown indie comic artist and writer that you've never heard of, Terry Moore.
I knew that was coming up.
Yeah. Terry launched After Dark, which is a sketchbook that is absolutely freaking killing it on Kickstarter right now, and I think that is great because Terry's bringing more fans that have never been on Kickstarter to the platform, and I think that's great for all of us. So I'm happy to see that he's having such success with that. That's great.
Well, if we're going to do that, I'm going to shout out Eric Palicki's Orphans Revisited. His book Orphans is the first book he ever created, and he decided to bring it out one last time. So this is kind of the only way you can get Eric's first ever work. I haven't read Orphans. I don't know anything about it, but I've read No Angel, which is a great 4-issue mini that you should check out. I believe it was Black Mask put it out.
Cool.
But Eric is all of Eric's books are really interesting. He's got a scout book. I believe it's Atlantis was made for tourists, but it's something like that. It's late and I'm tired, so I'm probably messing up the name of it. But
Nice.
Just check out Orphans, because it is the last time you can get this book. He's not printing it ever again, so it's worth it. And I think we did it, man. It's 12:15. I think we knocked it out of the park.
Hooray!
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for joining us. Jeff, Shawnee, really appreciate you hanging with us, and we will see you next week. We got a barn burner next week. It might barely be able to live up to this week's, but I don't think so. Good night, everybody.
Good night.